Hello guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today I want to share with you a newer build compared to the other builds I usually share. This is not a Scourge, a Firebrand and the same usual classes we see meta all the time. This one is a newer class, it's the Celestial Renegade. It's really strong, it provides a lot of utilities and buffs for your party, a lot of boons and also a 50% damage reduction in your elite skill on the dwarf, and also we have a lot of stability on the dwarf, a lot of resistance on Malix. We have also a ranged unblockable boon strip always on Malix, which is huge, and most importantly it's one of the few classes which could still apply alacrity to the allies. The role of this build is to apply the most support you can through the stabilities, to the stun breaks, through the Rite of the Great Dwarf, and also through the Banish enchantment, which is the unblockable ranged strip on your enemies. And then we also have basically unlimited resistance for our allies. We have almost 100% alacrity uptime, so don't get discouraged if you don't see yourself in your top DPS on the arc DPS or in your top boon strip or on your top condi cleanses. This class can really do it all. It's not the best at anything, but still it can provide so many things in just a build. It's really hybrid. Also there is this trait which removes stability stacks, and these stability stacks which are removed through this trait are not showed in the arc DPS boon strip, so don't get demoralized if you see you are not the top boon strip in your squad. It's okay, this class can provide a lot of silent support which is not showing in arc DPS. The build uses Invocation, Devastation and Renegade. The first trait, we run Glaring Resolve, gain stability and heal yourself when you break stuns. This is not a huge trait, but still it's better than the other two options on this build. Then we have this one, Spirit Boon, invoking a legend, grant boons to nearby allies based on the legend that was invoked. So we have Malix and Dwarf, so we will apply AoE resistance whenever we swap to this purple guy, and we will apply stability whenever we swap to this to this grey guy, and also this only works in combat, by the way. And then we have Charged Mists, which is huge, invoking a legend while at or below the energy threshold grants extra energy to your new legend. So as you might already know, we have the energy mechanic on the Revenant. Whenever we summon a new legend while we are below 10 or at 10 energy here, the next legend will not spawn with 50 energy but with 75 energy, which is basically another skill more, one of your utilities, like let's say 25. You see this one costs 30, for example. Venice enchantment also costs 30 or maybe 25, let's see, 30, so it's huge to have 25 energy more. Keep in mind that this trait is one of your best mechanics you should follow on this class, so it's something you need to take care of because your skills, your good skills, are really expensive in terms of energy, so having 25 energy more is a huge mechanic buff, so please always keep an eye on this. Whenever you are fighting, keep an eye on your energy. If you are at 10 or below, you can swap legend, otherwise almost never swap unless it's a super emergency. Then we have Devastation. We have Aggressive Agility, movement skills, grant resistance. I will show later which are the movement skills. It also depends on the weapon you run. Then we have here Assassin's Presence. Once every 10 seconds we will pulse Fury for 5 seconds, one single pulse. And then we also have here Brutality, which is the trait I talked earlier. It's gain quickness when we swap weapons. While we have quickness, our strikes will remove stability, so we will have a lot of quickness because we will swap weapons once every 10 seconds. The quickness is 5 seconds thanks to the boon duration we have on the gears, and also we will have hopefully some quickness from our Firebrand or Chronomancer or whatever class we have, but some classes can also apply quickness, a lot of quickness, like for example the Spellbreaker with the newest traits. So it's very cool, it's a very strong trait, and as I already said, these stability stacks which are removed through Brutality are not showed on the arc DPS, so please don't get discouraged, this class will remove a lot of boons. On the Renegade we have this mechanic called Callas Fervor. When we critically strike, attack our enemies from behind or their flanks, or strike a defiant foe, we'll inspire ourselves with Callas Fervor, gain access to Citadel Order skills, which are the skill from F2 to F4, I will explain later. Then we have also here, evading an attack inspires you with Callas Fervor and grants boons to nearby allies, so this class revolves a lot on applying a lot of boons on your allies, so you can cover boon, and your allies, hopefully they will not get their stability removed because they will have a lot of boons, also thanks to you. Then we have grant fury to yourself and nearby allies when you critically strike a foe, so it's very easy, permanent fury thanks to this trait plus assassin's presence. Then here we have bold reversal. When you use high heal skill, gain resistance. The other two traits are kinda bad, so this one is enough. Then we have here gain vigor. Okay, this is a damage trait, we don't really need it, it's a minor trait, we just have it. And then we have Righteous Rebel. Callas Fervor reduces damage you receive from conditions. Orders from above lasts longer and affects a larger area. So orders from above is this skill, the F4, it's the alacrity application skill. So with this trait, instead of 4 pulses, we will have 6 pulses of alacrity. So let's see it. I press it, you see alacrity keeps pulsing, and also these pulses will follow us so we can move around. It's perfect for War vs Sword. We see like 5 seconds of alacrity left and 7 seconds here. Let's see how much downtime we have, like less than 2 seconds I think of downtime of alacrity thanks to this trait, and this is not only for us but also for our allies because this is AoE of course. The gears, everything is celestial, armor, weapons, trinkets, everything is celestial. Why celestial? Because this build deals almost 0 damage, so even if we are full berserker or marauder or dragons, it doesn't matter, the damage is just bad. So we can be celestial because we have some healing power to be tankier on ourselves, also some toughness and vitality to be tankier, which is really important. It's an underrated component because if we die we are useless. With this build it's not that easy to die. And then most importantly we have power and precision and ferocity, which can apply still some damage on the enemies. Precision is huge to deal critical chance on the enemies and get those criticals. With ferocity they are more damageful. And then most importantly we have concentration, which is a nice chunk of concentration. Celestial equals, for example, minstrel concentration. Only diviner is a better stats for concentration, but it's just basically berserker with concentration higher stat, so it's not a viable option. So we just go for celestial because of the mix of the stats, for the tankiness, for some of the damage, some of the condi duration. This build can apply some conditions too, and also most importantly, as I just said, concentration, so we can apply a lot of alacrity on our allies. As you can see, we have 70 boon duration, 70% boon duration. The rune is the leadership, it can be changed maybe, but this one is the most important concentration rune. Like for the boon duration, it has 25 boon duration and then also like 36 of every stats, so it's like almost 28 boon duration total. It's the highest concentration rune. Then the weapons, I saw many people running mace and sword, sorry, mace, sword and shortbow. To be honest, I can understand the sword on the offhand, because the sword on the offhand has a really strong immobilize. It can stack up to like 4 seconds and a half if you hit 3 enemies, which is really easy in War vs Sword. I get it, it's really strong, but the shortbow, in my opinion, is just overrated. Maybe I missed something, but almost all the skills are projectiles. It has a nice CC, it has a nice pulsing damage, which is this one. It also pulses burning and slow, which is good. But to be honest, I would just go for the hammer, which can hit many people more and also deal some relevant damage, even if it's still bad damage on this build. And also it has a big CC on the skill 5. You have this projectile blocker on the skill 4. We have the skill 3, which is an evade for like 1 second and a half. So in my opinion, just go hammer. And then we have the staff. The staff can provide a lot of CCs on the skill 5, it has some conti removals on the skill 4 and healing. The skill 3 is huge to survive, you can block like for 2 seconds every attack you want. The skill 2 is another healing increase, the auto attack is another healing on the third chain. So in my opinion this is the best choice on your weapons, but maybe you can swap out the staff to get this mace and the sword. Just have one ranged weapon. Even if you like the short bow, play it, but don't play the hammer then. Just keep one ranged option and one melee option. By the way, the sigil are on the hammer. I run the superior sigil of rage and superior sigil of bounty. With the superior sigil of bounty, we almost reach 100% wound duration, and with the superior sigil of rage, we will get quickness whenever we critical hit an enemy, and we need the quickness, so our strikes will remove stacks of stability from the enemy. And then on the staff we have superior sigil of absorption, because the skill 5 can apply, as I already said, 9 CCs. Every CC can hit 3 enemies, so if it happens that you strip a stability and interrupt an enemy, you can also strip 3 more boons thanks to the superior sigil of absorption, because it says steal 3 boons when interrupting a foe. It has a cooldown of 10 seconds, so it's kinda strong. And then we have the superior sigil of agility, gain 5 seconds of swiftness and 1 second of quickness when swapping to this weapon in combat. So always keep in mind that the durations you see here on these boons is not counting the boon duration. So for example, this one will apply 3 seconds of quickness on you on the superior sigil of rage, so it will become almost 6 seconds. So these are the weapon choices I made. The superior sigil of agility is still for the quickness, so brutality trait can trigger. And then the trinkets, everything is on celestial again. You can also apply some concentration infusions to have more concentration and boon duration. And then we have the relic. I saw many people running the relic of Cerus upon using an elite skill, summon an Eye of Cerus that emits a rotating line attack, dealing damage and converting boons into conditions. This is very popular to remove some boons, but it can only hit, I think, 5 enemies. So I saw this other option, which is kinda cool, Relic of the Zephyrit. Whenever you press your elite skill, you will apply in an AoE pulsing protection and resolution for some seconds, as you can see. Let's see it. I think you need to enter combat, I'm not sure. Okay, I press my elite skill and I have these crystals pulsing around me, and they will apply protection and resolution on me and on my allies based on the duration, on the cooldown of the elite skill I just used. So I think it's kinda cool to have more cover boon. We have protection and resolution here. Also resolution is very useful for dragon hunters to do damage. Then we have resolution and regeneration here. We have stability here. We have resistance here. We have alacrity here. We have fury here. We have fury here, sorry. So we have a lot of buff for our allies, a lot of boons, so we can cover the stability, which is really important. So the skills from the F2 to the F4 are almost all kinda bad, except your F4. The F4 will apply that alacrity, which is really juicy. Then we have the F2, which is nice, refresh the duration of your Callous Fervor stacks and grant nearby allies might for every stack. So let's say we have the maximum stacks, which is kinda easy to reach, 5 stacks. We will apply 10 stacks of might on our allies for 15 seconds, which is huge. So this is not too bad, and also it costs only 10 of energy. And then this one is just bad, Citadel Bombardment, because we deal almost 0 damage, and also thanks to this we will not deal a lot of damage. Also each target is like 3 targets per hit, sorry, each hit can hit 3 targets, so it's not a lot, but most importantly the energy cost is 30, which is huge, like a huge cost. It costs like our Inspiring Reinforcement, which is a pulsing stability, one of the best skills we have on the Revenant. You see how much stability we can get, basically a low cooldown, hallowed ground. So the F3, just never use it. The F4 is mandatory, use it off cooldown. Basically the F2 is kinda good, keep an eye on your Callas fervor stacks. If you are at 5, you press it so you can recharge them and apply might to your allies. I already talked about the weapon skills, everybody know them, so let's get a quick look on the utility skills. We have Inspiring Reinforcement, which is huge. It pulses stability, it's a free hallowed ground, as I just said. And then we have the Force Engagement. It costs like only 10 energy, but it's single target, 15 seconds cooldown. You basically can skip this skill, just never use it. And then we have the Vengeful Hammers. Whenever we press them, we get these hammers spinning around us, and they do unblockable damage, very small damage, but it stacks up. And also it applies on ourselves a 20% damage decrease on us. And also, most importantly, with this skill we are sure to hit every enemy and to remove stability stacks thanks to brutality, and this is why it's so important to have quickness. You see, I just swapped, I have a lot of quickness, each hit will remove stability stacks, so whenever you are in melee you just should be pressing hammers, Vengeful Hammers all the time activated on you. So this is very huge to have and to know. And then the elite skill is the Rite of the Great Dwarf. It's also a stun break. It costs 40 energy. It's a huge cost, so please use it wisely. And most importantly, combined with the Charged Mist, we are at 75 energy. Okay, we can spend 40 of energy on this skill. For 5 seconds, ourselves and also our allies will gain a 50% damage reduction. We are still susceptible to conditions and control effects. We don't really care about this. The good component is the 50% damage decrease, which is huge. And also it can be combined, of course, with the protection, which is 33% more. So the dwarf stance is your melee stance almost all the time. When you are ranged, you should be on Malix. You should always start your fight on Malix because you are ranged. Let's say these golems are my enemies. You are on range, you can attack with your hammer, and hopefully you have quickness on yourself. And with this quickness we can remove stacks even on range. Also, this skill is not a projectile. The skill 3 is very easy to land. It's a huge AoE. Then we have the skill 5, which resets the skill 2 when it hits. The skill 3 is another very safe hit. And on Malix we have this skill, deal damage, apply chill and remove boons from your foe. So basically you select a target, this skill will basically pierce, and it's also unblockable. It will remove 3 boons per target, maximum 5 targets. So let's say these 2 targets, always try to target the farthest one so you can hit the enemies in between. So I target the smaller golem. You see, I hit the guy in front, and this way I applied chill on both of them and removed 3 boons from them, 3 boons from the smaller one and 3 boons from the bigger one. Let's see it again. If you see closely, you can see it applies 3 hits, 3 consecutive hits. 1, 2, 3. You see, very fast. And this is your bread and butter. While you are on ranged situation, you auto attack to remove stability stacks while you have quickness, and then we get Banish Enchantment. Then we have Call to Anguish, leap towards the target area and pull foes towards your landing point. So it's a leap, it's a movement skill. It's very cool to run and to engage, maybe if you are sure the fight is about to end, because it costs 30 of energy, which could be expended otherwise. In other skills you do this and you pull enemies, but if they have stability, basically you just wasted 30 of energy. This skill is highly skippable unless you are sure the enemies has no stability. Then we have Pain Absorption, which is huge. It's a lot of resistance on you and on your allies. So this skill is very important. I don't use it much because I always keep an eye on my allies if they have resistance on themselves, but otherwise it's basically a free cooldown, like 0 cooldown. You press it, you apply resistance on yourself and on your allies, you can press it, basically it's perma resistance. The only downside of this skill is that it costs 30 energy, so we have 30 energy here, 30 energy here, 30 energy here, and then we have 20 energy on the Alacrity skill. We have, for example, 30 energy on the Inspiring Reinforcement, which is the pulsing stability field, and then we have 40 energy on the right of the Great Dwarf, so you need a lot of energy, and this is why I cannot stress enough how Charged Mist is important in your build. You should always be using it and benefit from it in every swap you do in a fight. I know it's not that easy, sometimes you just wanna swap because you need those skills, but trust me, it's worth it to wait and to use this trait properly. The elite skill on the Malix, I didn't talk about it yet, but it's basically almost useless. It's very similar to the Vengeful Hammers from the Dwarf, but it's not unblockable. The AoE is a bit bigger and it will hit 5 enemies instead of 3, and it will pulse also Torment, which is nice, but still I don't think you should be using this, because on this legend we have Banish Enchantment, which has a low cooldown and costs 30 energy, so I would save the energy for this one, and also for applying some resistance to your allies and some alacrity. While you are on the Dwarf, instead you have just this skill, which is a bit costly on the energy side, but the cooldown is 10 seconds instead of 5 seconds, sorry. And also this one is like 40 energy, but you cannot spam this, it also lasts for 5 seconds. So in my opinion, while you are on Malix, focus on using Banish Enchantment and Pain Absorption if you can, and then when you swap to the Dwarf you should be having 75 of energy. You swap and we have immediately Legendary Dwarf, Rate of the Great Dwarf for the damage reduction, and then we apply Inspiring Reinforcement so we can pull the stability on the allies, and then use your skills. On melee you should be using Staff, which has a nice CC on the skill 5 and is also an evade, and during all these you are in Dwarf, you should be casting your Vengeful Hammers, which will pulse damage, unblockable damage, and with quickness you will remove stacks of stability. This is a cool clip I recorded some time ago with this class, so it's slowed so I can comment better and explain better. We are in a ranged situation. At this point I am on my hammer, which is my ranged weapon, and then you see I immediately cast my Banish Enchantment. I go from 14 boon strip to 20 very easily. At this point I attack with my hammer, I get some quickness on me. Then I swap to Staff because we are going melee. I get the quickness from the weapon swap and also from the sigil, both from the sigil and from the trait, sorry. Skill 3 to block, you see how many blocks I can manage to apply on myself and to survive. I also used my alacrity skill, sorry, I didn't mention it. At this point I just used it because my people in my party just started casting their skills, of course, to do damage and to support, so having the cooldown reduction is great for them and also for myself. Okay, I swapped to Staff. Immediately here I swapped to the hammer, but to the Dwarf, sorry, but it was a mistake because I was at like 11 energy. I managed to fail this, it was kinda easy. I was at 11 instead of 10, I just needed 1 energy less, so I could benefit from the trait and have 75 energy instead of 50 on the Dwarf. It's okay, it's a mistake. I immediately cast my elite skill, which is the Rite of the Great Dwarf, sorry, so I can apply 50% damage reduction on my allies and on myself. At this point I have almost nothing left, but it's a ranged situation, it's okay, I can wait. Just out attack if you have enemies in range. Then I immediately use my Vengeful Hammers because we are about to clash. Skill 5 is an evade and a CC, and also it will land many hits on many enemies, so a lot of stability stacks removed. By the way, you can remove only 1 stack of stability per second per enemy, so if you manage to land, for example, 3 attacks in a single second on the same person, you will not remove 3 stacks of stability, but only 1 if you have quickness, and as we can see we have a lot of quickness. So I dash into them with my skill 5, I CC these guys, you see interrupt, I will strip 3 boons from this guy, from the first guy, because it has 10 seconds cooldown, and also I remove many stacks of stability because I hit everyone and I have quickness on myself. These stacks of stability I remove are not showing on my arc DPS. Okay, here I should wait for 10 or below energy before swapping to Malix. I hope I don't fail again. Okay, this was successful. I immediately swap to Malix. I get 75 of energy and I can spam my Banish Enchantment or Pain Absorption on the other skills. I should be using Pain Absorption on a farther enemy, so I can hit the enemies in between. Okay, I chose this guy, which is kinda far from me. Banish Enchantment, you see, I went from like 23 to 38, so basically I got the maximum boon strip I could get. I immediately cast my F2 and my F4 for the Alacrity and for the Might. The Banish Enchantment is almost up again. I swap to Hammer, so I get some other quickness from the weapon swap, and I can attack the enemies. Here I'm in a ranged situation. My skill 2, skill 3 and skill 5 are very good to hit enemies and remove stability stacks, and also to CC with the skill 5. Banish Enchantment again, another boon remove, a lot of boons remove, sorry. You see 52 now, skill 2. Then I managed to fail myself with the skill F3, which I just said to you, just to not use it. Okay, I still have to learn. I know the concepts, but when I play it, maybe I fail sometimes. At this point I shouldn't be swapping because I am too high in energy. I need to get to 75 energy when I swap to Dwarf, so I need to swap only when I am at 10 or below. Here I should be casting some skills, so I can go below the 10 or more. Banish Enchantment cost 30. So now I reach below 10. Now it's the right moment to swap to Dwarf. Okay, I swap to Dwarf and immediately I press my right of the Great Dwarf. 50% damage reduction on my party. We are unkillable. Let's go. Immediately go to Staff. Skill 5 is an evade, so it's easy to survive, it's easy to dodge on the enemies. Save your dodges, use your skill 5, you will hit enemies, all of them, CC them, remove stability stacks, and in the meanwhile, make sure you have Vengeful Hammers active on yourself, which I did. Now the energy is running low. I am at 0 energy. I start recovering my energy, but the fight is basically over, so whatever I do from now on is kinda pointless. Just hit everyone and finish the fight. Okay guys, this was all for today's video. I hope you enjoyed my explanations and understood it. It's not the easiest class to play and sometimes it feels you are not providing shit to your party, but don't worry, you are, even if you are not the fastest fingers and even if sometimes you can fail the mechanic on the trait for the 25 more energy, it's okay. Please consider leaving a like and a subscribe to my channel if you enjoyed my content, so you can show me your support and your appreciation for my videos and for my guides. See you on to the next video and have a great night. Bye bye.